What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Bridon League. This is going to be the second to last set. BBC going up against xGame KZ in a best of 3 to determine who's going to go to the grand finals, where basically unknown are currently waiting. We're here in game number 1 on HeflaTV 1. I'm Mike Loris. I'm going to be joined by MRP. I have a question for you, man. Are you a betting man?
I am kind of a betting man. I mean, my father was, so I know this money line business, yes.
So you have like betting in your genetics, it seems. So
It's
with these odds, with BBC almost having a 2-for-1 in favor of winning the set, would you take that bet?
I mean, there's value in xGame, but I don't think I'd have the balls to pick it up here. BBC looked really strong throughout the tournament, and they got beaten by BU yesterday, but BU has the mastermind in Seb drafting for them, and I think BBC can beat them on their best day as well. So, yeah, I don't know. Bignum is standing in for xGame, though. That's certainly an X factor here, and when he seems to play for Album Sheet, they're a different team, so we'll see if that has any effect on xGame's play.
Alright, guys, of course, HeflaTV with a little help from eBettle going to be bringing you these games, and, well, we'll see what this draft is going to look like. We have an early Brood ban out, respect towards Bridon, and then a whole bunch of Flavor of the Month bans. xGame going to slam the Tiny IO, going to respond to with the ban of Lion Zeus from BBC, as they pick up heroes that are pretty much just their comfortable heroes. These are pretty BBC-esque heroes to grab.
Yeah, Levi, perennial disruptor player. Massacre, great on the Timber Saw as well. This is a strat they used up against BU yesterday, and it looks like BU kind of did their homework and was expecting some of these heroes. Padrino Slark came out, which was banned out by xGame, as well as his Broodmother, as you mentioned. Massacre Timber Saw is allowed to slip through more often than not, and it's pretty good up against the duo of the IO Tiny, who are often in close proximity to each other, more or less within the range of a Chakram or two if he's able to pick up that Aghanim. So yeah, as you mentioned, BBC going right where their comfort zone is, and not too worried about, I mean, being predictable in that sense.
And even though they may be in their comfort zone, xGame are pretty much there as well. They've been wanting to grab IO for pretty much every single game that they've played, and it's been first banned out quite a few times, and well, that would explain why they haven't picked up IO in the past, but their preferred combo is, of course, that IO Tiny, give Mantis the Tiny, give, I believe, Vlad the IO, and being on the Dire, the stacking is going to be possible, although a little bit more inconvenient than on the Radiant, but I'm expecting these two heroes to head towards the mid lane.
Yeah, certainly so, and I would expect that dual lane as well to be there. Wind Ranger is actually one of the heroes that kind of deals with it fairly well historically, so we'll see if that's in the hands of Miracle here. I haven't seen too much Wind Ranger with BBC. I mean, we know Levi and Massacre are going to be playing probably in the safe lane defensive try and in the off lane respectively, so we'll see how that ends up working out. BBC going to couple it up with a Sand King, so it makes their defensive try pretty strong.
Yeah, it seems like it's
jungle and farm fairly well.
Alright, okay, your mic just cut out. Not sure what that was about, but hopefully it's not going to happen again. It looks like it's going to be a Miracle Wind Ranger, most likely towards mid. Yapzor Sand King Disruptor is going to be supporting, and then Timbersaw is going to be Timbersaw. For that, it's going to be Padrino looking for that last hero as xGame. They grab the Viper after having grabbed the Shadow Shaman. It's a rather early pickup of the hero, and it's a nice hero to have when you know that, well, IO doesn't really offer you that crowd control aspect. Having someone who could crowd control after having Lion banned out is going to be really nice for xGame. Between that, Avalanche Toss, they have a bit of lockdown, but it's really BBC who are going to be holding all of the cards as far as the crowd control is concerned.
Yeah, I do worry for their ability to lock down this Timber a little bit. They do have that instant hex from the Shadow Shaman, which is pretty nice, but he's a very weak hero, and if he's not able to get his toolkit off on this Timber, the Timber will blow him up more often than not. So they are going to rely on the presence of this Tiny IO in most of their engagements, especially after picking up that Viper.
Alright, so xGame most likely just looking for an offlane hero. Brewmaster not going to be that hero. Probably looking towards something like a Puck for Stallcat. I feel like that would be pretty darn safe. Spectre, the pick for BBC. And when we saw Spectre the other day, always has its inherent risks, as a late game Spectre is always going to be devastating, but you sometimes just don't get to a late game stage, and Spectre is also not really the hero that you want versus Tiny. Tiny can blow her up very quickly, and come late game, that craggy exterior is not going to be good towards Spectre, because you rarely build BKB if you're Spectre.
Yeah, Spectre definitely not your ideal BKB builder, and
10
also she'll
seconds
be
remaining.
pressured immensely by this relocate from the tiny
5
IO
seconds
early
remaining.
on. So as you mentioned, it's going to be hard to try and transition to that late game. Of course, if she is able to for Bridino, then they
Reserve
will be
time.
able to probably take that pretty handily. But they're already a pretty strong dual core up here with the Viper Tiny, so I definitely worry for her ability to find space early on and make it to that late game.
Yeah, I mean, the heroes that BBC have in order to buy that Spectre, that additional space, like these are the heroes that you want. Timbersaw might get a little bit of a rough time in the early stages. Yapzor is going to play this, I assume, Sand King, who's going to play pretty passively as well, mostly in the jungle, I would expect. Wind Ranger can do pretty well, but the odds of her
Yeah.
going off, although possible, usually it just doesn't happen. So I would expect BBC to be at the
10
mercy of
seconds
xGame
remaining.
within the first 10-ish minutes, and at that point,
5
xGame, yeah,
seconds
they might just have
remaining.
complete control of the game. The game might, for all intents and purposes, just be over, but we'll see if BBC can outlast them, as xGame definitely more into the early game as they grab a Doom for Stallcat, I would expect. Yeah, and he's going to grab that hero, so offlane Doom, that's not really the worst way to go. It is a hero that does tend to walk around quite a bit, and if you could wander into a sandstorming Sand King, you could make his life hell.
Yeah, certainly so. And I mean, he's not going to seem to be too punished, I don't feel. I don't feel like Disruptor Sanking is extremely strong. They'll kill him one or two times, but Doom innately tanky versus magic damage, and they don't have an abundance of right click from this BBC lineup. He is pretty low in base armor, but his base HP pool very high. And I feel like this is a good choice from xGame, as a lot of this rides on the back, as you mentioned, of Massacre's Timbersaw until they can transition that Spectre
10
into something
seconds remaining.
scary. And so if they drop the Doom on this Timber, more often than not, I feel like they'll be
5
winning these
seconds
engagements.
remaining.
Man, drop a Doom on a Timbersaw, drop a Doom on a Wind Ranger, even to a lesser extent the Sand King, but definitely
Yeah.
the Timber and Wind Ranger are going to be the priorities for that Doom, as if you shut those two heroes down, well, Timbersaw is just absolutely useless. He won't do anything except for run away. Depending on the farm of Miracle, he might choose to stand and fight, being Wind Ranger inherently on the faster end, inherently with long range, might stick around to kite, depending on the situation, but man, the Doom just being able to shut down a hero cold like that is why you pick up the hero, and as long as he could land those Dooms, then he's going to be pretty happy, but he's going to have to grab the Blink Dagger and try to out-Blink Dagger the Sand King, because the Yapzor is going to look to do the exact same thing with the help of Levi's Static Storm.
Yeah, definitely a lot will rely on initiation in this one, but I feel like if they don't shut down Stallcat heavily, even just having that ultimate is a very, very big scary element for BBC's lineup, at least for the first 35 minutes.
Alright, so it looks like we are just going to chill for now, but taking a look at these drafts, taking a look at the past history of these two teams, who do you favor right now in this game?
It's hard not to say I favor BBC, just because I feel like they are the better team in terms of movement, in terms of execution, and even in terms of the draft screen for the most part. But at this point, I really got to favor xGame's draft. I feel like they're strong in every phase of the game. Viper is innately tanky, can't be killed off and bursted down by this Wind Ranger Timber. They've got the transition with the tiny IO into the late game. They've got the trump card that is the Doom that can remove Timber before to create space for them to relocate the Spectre, and then eventually can remove Spectre from the fight. So at this point, I got to favor xGame.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. Like, for me, it's just hard to favor a team that has a Spectre. I feel like she's just such a finicky hero. She's such a potential powerhouse, but it's so rare that we all actually see Spectres get to that late game stage, especially up against what xGame are packing. So, though I do like BBC and their ability to just win games out of nowhere, it's going to be hard up against what xGame have. Just such a solid draft, and maybe their only weakness is that they're a little bit crowd control light, but man, if they land the crowd control on the important targets, the Wind Ranger, the Timber, to a lesser extent the Sand King, then they're going to be fine. They don't really have to worry about too many things. So, yeah, I do think xGame have a better draft, but we've seen BBC beat teams that had what we thought were vastly favored draft just because they are so comfortable with the heroes that they've chosen.
Yeah, that's definitely the point to touch on, is that despite them picking up a draft that looks a little bit underfavored, they are playing on heroes which they're very proficient on, and most often they're willing to kind of give up these well-rounded drafts to other teams in order to get their comfortable heroes. So hopefully we can get into this one soon. Should be a very good matchup. It is a best of 3, guys. This is your lower bracket finals. Winner goes on to face BU in a best of 5 starting at 18 CET for your grand finals of this season 1 of Bridon League.
So, yeah, just figure out what's going on right now so that we can actually get this game going. I do like how we paused like kind of before all the heroes loaded in, so they're all stuck in their like civilian poses. Like Wind Ranger doesn't even have her bow out. She's just chilling, man. Just chilling.
Did she even make it to the ground? I guess so.
She's kind of like
Most
inside
heroes
the
are
ground,
grounded.
actually. Dude, gravity is very... It's working its magic over in the gradient side of the
finicky
base.
thing in the Dota 2 world is gravity.
You know, with black holes and supernovas every single day, like, you expect gravity to be fucked up at some point. Like, you can't keep all those rules of physics in line.
Seen the map past 70 minutes. I'll definitely be questioning the consistency of gravity. Why does everyone have Doom as their effigy on xGame? Anyways, a little weird.
Because they love Doom.
Well, I guess they're gonna win
I just
then.
hate Doom as a hero. Like playing him, I just can't stand it. But okay, guys, we are ready to go, and it looks like BBC, they're going to be sending Mascari up towards the top lane as the Timbersaw. No surprises there. Miracle going to be handling the mid lane Wind Ranger. Again, no surprises. And of course, the defensive tri lane involving that Spectre, played by Bridon. Yaps are going to be handling the Sand King. Boots first on him. Levi's going to be playing the Disruptor.
Yeah, over towards the off lane for xGame, we've got Bignum, the stand-in, playing up on the Viper currently. He's going to be accompanied by Reeves playing on that Shadow Shaman. They're going to have Stallcat rotating with them, who probably will take up the off lane, going towards that Bounty Rune. And in the top lane, Vlad playing on the IO with Mantis on that one position, Tiny.
Get ready to see Vlad and Mantis starting the tree clear, as they will get ready for some pulls. The IO is not really going to be doing too much versus the Wind Ranger. Really, the IO Tiny combination works best when they're up against low range heroes, and Wind Ranger is not exactly that hero, packing 600 range. So getting into a man fight with the IO is most likely not something the IO is, or most likely something that Miracle is going to want to do all the time, to take out more HP than the IO is going to lose. And yeah, you have to worry about sometimes avalanches, but not really too threatening there. So I expect the IO to play a very hands-off role in this mid lane, and at that point, the Tiny might get just chipped down to hell and back because he doesn't have any answers to a 600 range hero.
Yeah, and that 100-100 rune is so nice early on for Vlad's Wisp, who is going to rush the bottle completely, doesn't pick up an item at all, and it'll be coming out right away immediately as he picks up that bounty rune. So as you mentioned, not the best matchup, and that's something we alluded to in the draft. Miracle versus this dual lane does deal with it fairly well, and with it having that early bottle, they'll be able to spam out a little bit more of Toss Harass coming out from Mantis.
Alright, so we expect the mid lane to be going slightly the way of Miracle, but he's probably not going to be strong enough to deny Mantis and Vlad any experience or farm or anything like that. So that is the status quo over in mid. Down towards bottom, Bridon, he's right now left alone, and Spectre versus Viper is not a good lane for Spectre. Like, it's nowhere close to being a good lane. Levi has his hands full to pulling. Yapzor is going to play a completely hands-off role, just wants to get some stacks going so that later on he could just sandstorm them all down, grab his fast Blink Dagger, but that Blink Dagger better do something big because Bridon is getting Jack in this bottom lane, and that's to be expected. Like, just if Viper was here, that would be bad, but the threat of Reeves being here as well makes it just so terrible.
Yeah, Miracle manning up with Vlad, punching him in the face, and the power shot is going to whiff onto Vlad with the tether move speed. One more right-click. Mantis finding the first blood, and Miracle, knowing about the advantages he has in this matchup, playing a little bit too aggressively and far forward, and he feeds over that first blood gold to exactly the hero you don't want to.
Problem, of course, with going for an IO this early is that he has a bottle. He might not have the health pool really to back it up, but having an early bottle, like 1 minute bottle, is going to give you just such a huge amount of regeneration when your attack speed early on is not going to be high enough to pressure out those charges and, you know, cancel them very quickly. So Miracle kind of getting in over his head, and it is going to result in his death. That being said, though, he is still, you know, tripling up Mantis's CS. So him dying is going to equalize the lane only by a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of Toss Harass coming out from Mantis. Interesting choice from Stallcat here. He picks up the mana burn from one of the satyrs, and he's been able to completely burn out Massacre's mana pool. Historically, Timber does very well versus melee hero, so I like this choice from him.
Yeah, you don't really see the mana burn being used all too often, but you know, when you get a 2-for-1 ratio on those mana burns, you ensure that your health pool is going to stay very high. And then, of course, you don't really have to worry about using Scorched Earth because your health pool is going to be very high. Does have to worry about these Whirling Deaths, and man, those things hurt like a bitch. But Mascari can only do those every so often. Like, it'll be a very long time until he'll have another one. And He's zoning out Stallcat, just having that double point of reactive armor, taking pretty much no damage from the creeps. There's no way that Stallcat can really have a good time in this lane, but he's still going to be getting his farm.
Yeah, which is huge for a Doom, who's generally a terrible offlaner and is only really put there because the Devour mechanic allows him to recover and farm later on.
Alright, so as it stands right now, xGame doing okay with their lanes, but it is BBC to take a CS advantage in Miracle and in Mass Carry up towards the top lane. And if Mass Carry just finds himself a full mana pool, if it's just like a random bottle delivery or a fast arcane boost, something like that, then the pressure that's going to mount on this Doom is going to be substantial. They're going to get into a man fight up towards the top, but with 8 armor, I don't really know if anyone could be the Timbersaw in a fist fight like that, especially not the Doom. Even though he may have that the Scorched Earth, his regeneration is high, it's just not comparable.
Yeah, definitely so. He can't right-click him down. Avalanche will go out mid. Toss is not there with the mana needed, but it is regenning up, and they're just going to harass out Miracle out of the lane for now. No quite kill potential there. Maybe a wraparound bottom lane. It looks like YapzOr is posturing up pretty aggressively, but only has that level 1 Burrow Strike with it, which is a pretty crappy spell.
Level 2 Disruptor can't do enough damage to kill off Bignum either. If Spectre has maxed out Desolate and she does have 2 points, they may have a chance of getting this kill, and they're going to go and try for it. There's Kinetic Field is going to connect with the Burrow Strike. Bignum is going to take a hell of a lot of damage trying to race for YapzOr, but it won't work. YapzOr going to go into the Sandstorm, will be fine. Now Reeves is going to take a little bit of damage. He'll be a-okay to walk out unless there's a glimpse. Oh, just out of range. Now there's a glimpse. No, okay, no, he's going to back off. But going for that Viper, the only chance that they have of getting that kill is if they get that pure damage Desolate to start working, and they did. The Viper walked right into like the worst possible spot.
Yeah, and he kind of knew it, it seems. Wisp comes out top lane to help out Stallcat. Just going to zone out Massacre for the time being, though. This Timber should be just fine with that couple points in reactive armor, and he'll easily have a Timber Chain very soon as well.
So bottom lane is still going very well for xGame and that Spectre. Not really getting too much, but it's actually not going as well as I really would expect. 11-2 onto Pad, and you would expect the Viper to just completely shut the Spectre out of lane, but now they're going to find Reeves actually. No glimpse mana from Levi. This is a dangerous kill to go for if you're BBC, as this Viper, even though he is only level 3, he is just such a terrifying hero, and you don't really want to fight through him. Maybe if you're going for him, it'll work out, but not through him. They're going to wrap around and maybe set up for Bignum one more time. Level 1 Burrow Strike plus Sandstorm with a glimpse. No, actually they don't have a glimpse, not yet, not enough mana, so Bignum's going to be fine for now, but it seems like BBC, they're really interested in going for these Viper kills, and if you can get Viper down, that's going to be huge, but the hard part is actually getting that kill, especially now that Viper has 2 points in that skin.
Yeah, YapzOr going to have to pop his Sandstorm here. I'm surprised how underfarmed the supports are from the side of BBC thus far. I mean, they are being out-leveled by xGame. They pretty much haven't been present in lane most often. That's why you see Bridon so low in CS. But only the level 2 on YapzOr. No stacks prepared for him either. He will pick up that level 3 now, so second level in Sandstorm, and will be able to farm up a lot more quickly. But Reeves already scouting things out. Doesn't actually have a stack quite yet, so interesting from them.
You compare the stack status of BBC, they have like a triple in the hard camp. That's pretty good, but man, look at what Vlad's doing. He has like 1, 2, 3, 4 at least, looking for 5 in the hard camp. It's going to just barely miss because making that pull is damn near impossible, but there's a whole bunch there, a whole bunch here, and that is just going to be so happy for him. Stallcat up towards top lane though, in a little bit of trouble. Timbersaw completely tapped out of mana. Those arcane boots doing work, but maybe not enough work, as the Doom is going to level up, get a little bit more strength, and will be just fine. And over towards mid lane, toss in for Miracle, bottling up for an Avalanche, will connect as well. Here comes Reeves from the side. Miracle does have the wind run out. She might be able to survive this with the bottling. Gonna turn around, Reeves going to die, but we'll get the kill first. YapzOr gonna get the experience from that one overall.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice pickup for the Sand King. That GG rune doing a lot of work there. He'll pick up his level 4 here, so a little more kill potential with that extra range on his Burrow Strike. And meanwhile, Bignum in lane alone can't go to take out Bridon, so he'll recover pretty nicely on the Spectre. 15 CS to him isn't terrible at this point, especially considering he hasn't died up against a lane that's pretty potent, especially when his supports have been out of lane more often than not.
Yeah, so Bridon is going to be fine to recover, and we'll see what build he wants to go for. Maybe it's just going to be standard upgraded boots into Urn, into Radiance. Maybe he's going to just man up and go straight for that Relic, but I don't really know if that's going to work out up against what xGame have. It's the build that you always want to go for, but it's not always the build that you can go for. So he is, at the very least, going to get a little bit of free time to farm, but as it stands right now for xGame, they're pretty much on track. Vlad is very close to his level 6, and once that happens, then the pressure that's going to be applied to Bridon is going to skyrocket.
Yeah, they'll be able to farm up those stacks extremely quickly as well with that IO Tiny combo, and that's something to be scared about for BBC. As you mentioned, they accrued a CS advantage thus far, but xGame is going to catch up and if not surpass them in farm once they farm up all those stacks.
And the kills going for BBC, the kill potential rather, on the Wind Ranger and the Timbersaw, I mean, it's doing a little bit of work, but it's certainly not getting them to a state where they could just run the game by themselves, as that's ideally where you want to be as BBC. It's very, very hard to actually do, but I mean, it is possible with those types of heroes. So they're going to be at the mercy of xGame soon enough. A Blink Dagger might be the build for Stallcat, although it seems like he's going to slow down for the Hand of Midas. Also a reasonable way to go. And xGame pretty much just waiting for that level 6, and then they're going to probably apply more pressure down towards bot. Disruptor, though, does have a level 3 glimpse, so even if he's caught a little bit out of position, his ability to throw the enemies back is going to be so useful for the Spectre to survive. Reeves, though, going to run into YapzOr, steal 2 of his creeps. Oh, man. Now that is an efficient move right there. 105 mana for that much gold denied to the enemy. So
Huge.
Worth it.
Yeah, huge. And he was soaking XP on the side of the periphery of the trees there as well. So it was just very poor for YapzOr to find his farm. Spectral Dagger Kinetic Field goes out bottom. It's going to whiff onto Bignum. He'll get glimpsed back into it, but the Kinetic Field duration not the longest at this point. He still should tick down to this Desolate damage. But Vlad is going to rotate in. He's regenning him up. The move speed is too much, however, from Bridon, and they will be able to bring down Bignum as Reeves was off the lane finding that farm from YapzOr. So they do get somewhat of a return kill for it. Tether forward from Vlad is a little bit overzealous here. He's going to get caught into the kinetic field. Desolate damage doing a lot of work. Burrow Strike is there as well. And 2 kills going the way of the defensive try of BBC, and a bit of a misstep coming out from xGame.
I don't really see a world where that IO comes out of that situation alive. Saw 2 heroes very weak, but then he forgot that he was an IO and he actually doesn't do that much, so got a little bit too far ahead of himself. In the meantime, it was a death of the Wind Ranger over in the mid lane. Seems like she was the victim of an avalanche toss combo, and that does do a hell of a lot of damage. Can pretty much 100-0 anyone on BBC if the combo lands correctly, but it is BBC to take an advantage in the bottom lane. And YapzOr, even though he got those 2 big creeps stolen, is still going to find a very fast Blink Dagger. 10-minute Blink with level 3 Burrow Strike prepped and ready. He's ready to make some action happen for the BBC side, although I do think it's going to be more of a defensive item than an offensive item. They've already shown that they can make action happen with these trio of heroes, Spectre, Disruptor, Sand King, who inherently don't have that many aggressive ways of playing this lane out, so they're getting kills regardless. Yeah, big stack going to be farmed up here by Mantis. But as you mentioned, that is going to kind of cue the ability for BBC to control the tempo here. And it's kind of something that xGame's lineup intends to do. So it'll be interesting to see if they get some traction under the feet of Massacre's Timbersaw and Miracle's Wind Ranger along with that flank on YapzOr's Sand King. But we do expect xGame to start to get active fairly soon as the relocate has just been picked up by the IO. So yeah, this is going to be potentially space made for Bridon. It's depending on whether or not the relocate is more dangerous than the Blink Dagger on the Sand King. And also taking a look at Timbersaw, he's been having a free time up on this top lane. Doom has been having a relatively free time as well, but him and Miracle leading the way in CS. And man, these farmed heroes are just getting a little bit more experience on these heroes is going to be the difference between BBC getting these kills with help of the Sand King and the Blink Dagger and letting these kills get away. It looks like him and Levi, YapzOr, Levi, can move up towards the top lane. They're looking for Doom, who is nowhere close. He's just farming very slowly at that because it's Doom. But if anyone shows their face up here, they are very dead. Yeah, he's got that pack leader aura right-clicking away quite far away. What do you make of this Midas choice from Mantis? I expected him to get a little bit active early on. He could have had 2 components of his Aghanim's. I mean, I guess the Avalanche Toss combo is very potent in its own right, so you don't quite need an extra item at this point, but I feel like he would have been better off finding that Aghanim's and accelerating his farm that way. Yeah, this is the build that Mantis typically goes for from what I see. Whether or not that's the right build for this game, I'm not too sure. I mean, they have so much early game power that they should want to use it. They're going to try to go for Reeves up towards top BBC. They found Reeves. Here comes the relocate. Turnaround Hex onto Mass Carry, but Levi's here as well. It's stacked. Storm going to connect onto all 3. Vlad's going to die very quickly shortly after the Shadow Shaman falls, and YapzOr getting in there with an Epicenter. Not really sure if that even did anything, but it was way too late. Levi was there with the perfect time, and man, you don't expect that fast of a level 7 from the Disruptor either, so xGame getting blindsided by the AoE damage of BBC. Yeah, and perhaps this is why BBC gives over the tiny IO combo. Levi, very efficient with his Disruptor, and it's just a generally great hero versus the IO tiny combo. You can glimpse back 1 or drop a Static Storm on 2, and it was very well placed by him there. And also Bridon used his haunt just to get a couple of kill assists there. He's going to grab his phase boots, is going to be working towards that urn, but the Spectre is going to be really happy by the fact that a relocate didn't go her way. Every single time xGame used relocate to try to reinforce one of their allies or to try to get a kill on BBC and it's not the Spectre, then Spectre's the one to win out. Maybe she's going to get punished down towards bottom as Mantis and Bigdom making an aggressive play, but no, nothing's going to happen there. In fact, Levi teleporting in, they can't kill off the Tiny, but if they have one more hero, then they certainly can. Either way, BBC taking a very nice 7-3 advantage pretty early on in the game. Net worth still being led by the Tiny, and Doom not doing too terribly either. It's going to be Levi to get caught in the Serpent Wards, though. Bridon's going to try to dig him out by killing off Reeves first, but he has to be really careful. He's going to get shackled. Yaps are going to get there as well. Burrow Strike's going to connect onto 2. Bridon dropping very low. Will go down to the Serpent Wards. Mass Carry going to do a lot of damage to Mantis in the meantime. Sandstorm also going to help out in that regard. Io's going to come in, but Bignum is the one in trouble. He's the one who needs the tether because Mass Carry is right on top of him. Another Timber Chain. Whirling Death should get the kill. Yes, it will. Now he's going to be in a little trouble, though, because Mantis has another toss cooling down. Will crush the Timbersaw with that skill, and Miracle, he is nowhere close. In fact, he's killing a tower over in the mid lane, is going to withstand a Doom. So you would rather like to have your Wind Ranger there, but as long as he survives, he did do something for the team that's also pretty substantial in pushing that tower. Mantis really wants to get this stun onto Miracle, but that's not going to happen. Miracle away from the fight, but still doing some work.
Yeah, they will return back to that bottom lane and should be able to take down this tier 1 promptly hereafter. So not the biggest loss, but as you mentioned, very nice play coming up from Miracle. He will be hexed up top lane. Ether Shock as well is there, but Miracle a little bit too tanky for Reeves to solo him up despite being low. And Levi, looking for the glimpse, is not going to find it onto Reeves as the tier 1 does fall in that bot lane.
Yeah, there's nothing BBC can really do to defend that bottom lane, and that was pretty weird initiation from xGame. Whenever you get funneled in this little tree corridor, usually things aren't going to go your way, but Serpent Wards are just going to be that useful tool. And even though Serpent Wards not directly going to be going into that push, getting a push whenever you use Serpent Wards or getting a team fight is also pretty much what the Shadow Shaman wants to be doing. Now hitting level 8, and this Ether Shock at the very least is going to be devastating, but with a Hex or a random Shackle that comes out very quickly, they can kill off Bridon in a hurry, who, by the way, is in a little bit of trouble. Mantis avalanching. Can't get the toss out, though. Bridon very quick on the draw there with his dagger. Is going to keep himself safe and also might play the bait role because he has support heroes coming.
Yeah, Levi and Yaps are smoked up. They're actually going to opt to go back towards mid for the time being. But nobody home currently. Bigdom postured up pretty defensively. Isn't too far off that mechanism recipe. Already has both components of it. Should find it underneath the tower if he's able to last hit this entire creep wave. So smart play by him. Mantis going to run into Levi here. Avalanche comes out. One big right click toss should be there as well. Epicenter being channeled up though. The Static Storm on top of it. Vlad first to fall. Mantis left by his lonesome. He's ticking down to the silence. Will get the toss off. Kills off Bridon, but ends up dying to the combo of Miracle and Yapzor, and overall, it ends up being a 2 for 2, so not a terrible trade for xGame, considering how much was committed from BBC.
When you get caught in the Static Storm epicenter like that, you expect to go down. Up towards top is going to be an attempted Doom. There's the Doom onto Mass Carry with the Shackles. I don't think they have enough damage here, though. They need the Serpent Wards to land, and they get him! He's perfectly trapped. Reeves is right on the money. Mass Carry would have lived if those Serpent Wards were a little bit off target, but instead they walk away with 1 kill. Might not be for free, though, because Miracle's coming around from the side. Easy Shackle there. Even I can land that Shackle. Now the Focus Fire onto Reeves, and the Shadow Shaman is going to be going down, making an even trade up towards the top lane. In fact, even trades pretty much everywhere. But I think xGame are the ones to take the win in who they actually kill off. They kill off the Timber, they kill off the Spectre, and you have to keep killing off the Spectre.
Yeah, and their Mantis will come back up now. He's got 2 components of his Aghanims. He's only 1,300 gold from completing that up completely. And still, with the Midas, isn't the worst timing here. 16 minutes in. Should end up having that, about the 18-minute mark once he ticks out this Midas here. So things looking good for xGame, as you mentioned. But BBC certainly not out of it. Miracle needs to find a little bit more influential roam around this map here. He looks like he may be building into an Aghanims of his own. What's your thought on that choice?
Well, usually I like it when Wind Rangers go for a little bit more of an early mid-game build, but seeing 2 Midases on the other end, this is a little bit more of a late-game selection for Miracle. I think, in general, I like going for a Maelstrom first and then getting an Aghanims afterwards, but Aghanims is something that you want to have on your late-game Wind Ranger. Sequencing might be a little bit odd, but this game is probably going to get to that late-game stage, and in that sense, I think it's a good item.
Yep, Rune going to be picked up here by Vlad, so he'll have a full bottle ready to go. They do have some aggressive vision here. Toss is going to go out onto Bridon, but They're not going to be able to aggress forward on it. Almost the entire lineup of BBC is postured up in the Radiant jungle here, so they need to be a little bit worried about this, but seems like they are kind of privy to that fact. No one else is visible in any lanes thus far, so xGame playing pretty defensively.
And even though BBC have a lot of range with initiation with their blink daggers and their haunts and their timber chains, this observer ward is going to keep xGame 100% safe all the time, and I don't really know if BBC know about that ward right now, so it's unlikely that it's going to be destroyed anytime soon. xGame just making their home down towards this bottom lane. They know that Bridon wants to get farm here, and they're going to be applying a lot of passive pressure towards this Spectre, and at a certain point they're going to make some sort of jump in. Maybe it's going to be like a toss forward on the Shadow Shaman. That would probably get the kill. YapzOr is here with Levi. Looks like they want to turn around, but it's a trap. Haunt is there, which will reveal said trap. Mantis is going to still be focused down, though. YapzOr looking to get in there with the Burrow Strike Epicenter will connect. Vlad also going to get silenced in the meantime. That's 1 down. Bridon is going to finish off Mantis. That's 2 down for the BBC side, and it looks like xGame just getting blindsided by the fact that BBC used Haunt to get in there, where they ordinarily wouldn't need to.
Beautiful synergy of abilities as well. YapzOr jumps in first, baiting out the relocate save from Vlad. Levi follows up with that Static Storm, and just well played. And it's something we alluded to early on, is that perhaps xGame's draft looks a little bit more strong throughout the game in all its phases, but these heroes, or these players for BBC, just so comfortable on these heroes. And Massacre is going to run into Stallcat. He actually has already been doomed up and let the entire duration expire. Miracle with his DD rune popped, looking for blood, but not going to dive too deep behind enemy lines, and that is a doom down for xGame.
Yeah, he doomed the Timbersaw mid-chain, but the Timbersaw was already out of range by the time the doom actually kicked in, so nothing happening too much there. So just a clean delivery of the Bloodstone, and that is the build that Massacre does prefer to go for. Grabbing that Bloodstone and then eventually going to go for that Aghanim Scepter. So Timbersaw exactly where he wants to be, but really the early game power of Timbersaw and Wind Ranger, it's been doing an okay amount, but you would really expect, first of all, these heroes in general, second of all, the players on the heroes. Miracle is a pretty big action mid lane hero. He likes to create a lot of space, to be doing a little bit more for their respective teams.
Yeah, definitely so. They haven't been too overwhelming thus far. It's really been the play of Levi and YapzOr defensively postured up behind their cores that have been doing a lot of work against xGame's aggression, and they are going to stave off the aggression for now from Mantis and Vlad, but he does have that Aghanim Scepter in base, is going to come out soon. Will have a triple stack of Ancients to farm if he doesn't block it up himself here. Mantis, and he did, so that's a little annoying.
Yeah. Shit happens, I guess. The Tiny is still going to get a lot of gold regardless, so eventually he's going to just get to this overwhelming state, and with that Aghanim Scepter, he's not quite there. We saw how BBC were able to kill him off beforehand, but he has 1900 HP, and he has quite a bit of armor to boot, not to mention the power of the IO right behind him. Mantis is going to be a very difficult hero to kill moving forward, and it's going to get to a point where BBC, instead of dropping the Static Storm and then trying to race the Tiny IO, they're going to have to settle for glimpsing the Tiny back. And that is still going to be really powerful. It's just not exactly what they want to be doing, because you want to be killing off the Tiny instead of ignoring him.
Yeah, and he'll still be able to farm when that happens, so he will be a big late game presence, presumably. They do have, of course, Padrino's Spectre, and he's picked up the urn, and he's going for that Naked Relic pretty much. He's got the phase boots as well. 3,200 gold available to him, so not too far off that, and they're going to need to kill him off very soon in order to stifle his item progression.
Well, they have Stallcat in the area with the Blink Dagger. They also have that Relocate ready. If they manage to land both of those, there's no one in range for BBC to actually help out Bridon. There's the Doom after the Blink. Relocate coming in as well. Bridon's got a juke like his life depended on it, because it does. Chakram's going to fly through, make a pretty much blade wall so that the xGame are not going to chase forward for the Spectre. And Spectre, though getting really, really hurt by the Doom, is going to survive. That's also one Relocate more that BBC don't really have to worry about.
Yeah, was that relocate a little bit too shallow for your liking? I feel like that was a terrible prediction there from Vlad. But either way, Bridon able to back off under that Spectral Dagger move speed, and he'll be able to farm up top lane. However, that is where Mantis has returned to. They're going to drop the Serpent Wards, and Vlad is there as well. They should be able to push down this tier 2 more or less unabated, as it looks like BBC looking for a trade bot lane.
These are level 2 Serpent Wards. The odds of being able to defend this tower very slim. Padrino's going to get a little bit of risky farm, but it looks like he should be safe to get his Relic Gold while this is happening. Over towards the bottom lane, as you said, BBC looking to take this tower. They're going to throw the Chakram. Bignum's going to get yanked right back over towards mid lane. They also catch Stallcat with the random Burst Strike. Stallcat, I guess, really just wanted that tower deny, but going up against 4 heroes, one of which has a Blink Dagger, not a good plan, man. Not a good plan.
Yeah, I guess he expected that mechanism to come in for Bignum, and it's just very, very well executed from BBC to capitalize on that instant glimpse, jump in right away, knowing he's isolated, knowing that the relocate is down, and they pick off the tier 1 as well as the Doom for 30 seconds. Aghanim's now completed up by Miracle. That'll be nice to supplement his damage output, and probably expect that Maelstrom build, as you mentioned earlier, hereafter.
Alright, so 15-9, and Spectre is packing that Relic. Going to Haunt out, look for someone in bottom lane, actually, where I missed the initiation there. Blink, Burrow Strike, Epicenter, with, of course, Massacre's help, and Viper is pretty tanky. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. He has Overclub, he has Mech, but this is just way too much damage, a lot of it being pure, that the Viper just can't deal with.
Yeah, he gets blown up there bottom lane, and I feel like they even used Haunt there, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So Bridon picking up an assist. He's got the full Relic and is only about 400 gold away from that full Radiance. 25 minutes in, all things considered, things looking very good for BBC.
Yeah, xGame, they've made a couple of attempts at killing off the Spectre. The problem is you might make these attempts if you don't actually kill her off. If you don't keep her off from farming, the Spectre is going to find some gold eventually, and she will get to a state where the late game is just going to be all hers. And again, I think it's pretty much just YapzOr and Levi making all these plays for BBC, getting so much freaking space for the Spectre at the same time just protecting her life. So xGame, their Viper, not really doing too much in this game. Their Doom has been throwing out Dooms, so it's not like he's been doing absolutely nothing, but it just seems like the rest of the team they aren't on the same wavelength, and the Doom going in is not going to do it by himself. He really needs a lot of backup. Going for Roshan is going to be pretty nice for xGame, but man, they have to really get more of the heroes online. It's pretty much just only been Mantis, Reeves, and Vlad making some serious action happen.
Yeah, Radiant's going to come out now. Aghanims is there, which is a nice pickup for Stallcat as well. But to xGame's credit, every time they've dropped Serpent Wards, they found something pretty impactful off of it. So that's at least one way that they're using their lineup to great effect. But either way, still allowing Miracle to end Massacre to be very relevant thus far. And they haven't made too many plays, but in terms of their farm, they're doing excellently. And the Hex is going to come out onto Miracle here, but he's got a lot of support behind him. Reeves needs to be careful. Force staff forward, Shackle not going to latch, but easy focus fire with the DD will bring down that SS. Glimpse back onto Stallcat as well, and it looks like the Epi was channeled up for a second from YapzOr, but cancels that off, and they'll be just fine to take this tier 2 more or less uncontested here.
Dude, double damage and haste, it pretty much doesn't get scarier than that. Miracle is going to get jumped on, doomed up, but there's a backup here. Stallcat can take a hell of a lot of pure damage from that Timbersaw. In the meantime, it's going to be Vladimantis chasing forward for YapzOr, tossing the illusion of Spectre in, but that's pretty much everything that xGame has down the drain, as the Isle is going to take a very quick fall. Now the Timber Chain through towards Mantis. Bridon is awkwardly stuck here, but YapzOr is going to come with the Epicenter, not going to do too much damage, but will zone out everyone from Mantis, who is going to take a fall. That's his Aegis down. Reeves now going to get focused down by Massacre. YapzOr, Sandstorm, if nothing else, will get the kill. Power Shot through from Windranger, long range, going to get that one. Bignum is going to try to fight to the death versus this Timbersaw Sand King combination. Will slip away barely, but Miracle is also here. He's going to take a lot of damage from the Tiny, though. Force Staff down to the low ground. Power Shot will not kill off Bignum. Will just fall short. In the meantime, it's going to be Massacre running off from the side. Will try to get away, but Level Death is going to kill off that Timbersaw while canceling his TP. xGame, and they get separated so much, but the fact that Mantis had Aegis there really just won them that fight.
Yeah, Aegis BKB is literally the turning point there, and a big engagement going their way. Ends up being a 4-for-3. There was a buyback on the Shadow Shaman, so a little bit costly for Reeves, but he's been more or less very effective on this SS, so doesn't need too many items anytime soon, and win for xGame there.
Yeah, Bridon is going to be very happy that he's the one to survive after all of that from BBC. Kind of a whiffed Epicenter, kind of a shaky static storm, so BBC not exactly with the team fight that they wanted, and playing out an Aegis, it is always going to be very difficult, but xGame take a victory, and it's going to be the Tiny to really collect. As he said, BKB Aghanims, and Mantis is with that level 3 grow as well, so he's really trucking, and if BBC are not able to kill off the Tiny, I guess, or in this case kill off the Tiny twice, then really killing him off is going to be just so damn difficult moving forward, because you have to race someone who's doing like, what, 200, 300 damage a pop. And I'm sure next item is going to be some sort of attack speed item. As soon as attacks are going to be raining down very quickly, not to mention the overcharge.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably say an Assault Cuirass, it's maybe not the best item because Spectre does do a lot of pure damage from that Desolate. But I think, as you mentioned, the biggest thing was the kind of Whiff Static Storm there. It was used as well as the Glimpse to kill off Mantis's Aegis. And with that engagement starting with the win run being popped off before the Doom, I felt like it was going to go really poorly for xGame. But Miracle just a little bit too far out of the fight to come and return and do anything too influential, and force staffed right into Bignum's arms to the low ground there. Very nice engagement for xGame. It looks like they will look to make something happen mid lane off the back of that, but there is pretty much everyone available from BBC, and the Haunt from Bridon available as well. They are going to drop the Serpent Wards, however, to cover their fire.
Serpent Wards and Mantis going to demolish this tower very, very quickly. Chalk Room through, and Masquerade doing what he can, but his mana pool situation not too great right now, so he's not able to do that much, and it's a tier 1 tower mid lane. It's nice to contest Roshan, I guess, for BBC, but at this point you're more than okay with letting that one go. So xGame going to claim that one very easily. Probably didn't even need the Serpent Wards for that, honestly, but what's done is done. They'll try to go up towards top, but Bridon is already gone. The Spectre, now playing fairly elusively, is starting to catch up in the net worth. It's probably going to be impossible for her to get to the point where Mantis and Stallcat are, just because they are working with both Cleave and Hands of Midas, but Bridon is slowly getting to a slightly threatening stage.
Yeah, certainly so. They need to start worrying about him, that casual VIP booster up, as well as the Radiant. There's an ultimate orb onto Massacre. Do you expect this to be a Linken's to stop that Doom, or is this just a Hex?
I mean, they are going for a Linken's on their Sand King as well, so Linken's are pretty good items in that if you get 5 of them, you're still going to be able to use all 5. So yeah, going for Linken's on both the Timber and Sand King is going to be, I think, the move for BBC. Hex on Timbersaw is always good. Like, it's probably better than Linken's in many situations, but I'd say Linken's in this game is perfectly justifiable.
Yeah, I think it's a good item choice coming out from Massacre, and he hasn't really been able to do much when he's doomed up. So if they drop that or have to drop that on the Wind Ranger, Timbersaw should be able to get quite a bit done with already Boots of Travel and the Bloodstone. Even if he dies in these engagements, can res pretty quickly and look to reinitiate with those bots.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a Bloodstone hero. You'll get up very quickly, and then if you have those travels, then the Timbersaw, or essentially bought back Timbersaw, could just be the difference there, and very similar to what we saw in the last fight with that Tiny. So for right now, xGame not going to look to make any sort of huge plays, as they probably know that they really only won that team fight because of that Aegis, and the Aegis is going to be respawning in quite a long time, so they're not going to be looking for too much blood. It looks like Masquerade actually was going to grab that Void Stone, so maybe it is going to be a sheep stick after all. But first of all, we have a smoke up from BBC, and they're looking towards the north once again. For the second time, they're going to find absolutely no one, but maybe they run into someone. They will be able to reinforce with Bridon if it does come to that.
Yeah, I feel like Bignum's been a little bit underwhelming here for xGame thus far. I haven't really seen the effects of the Viper. I mean, they kind of just leave him be, not too worried about his Reckless. He is going to build into an Aghanims, does have a BKB, 10-second BKB available to him, and is only 2k gold away from the Aghanims. So he'll probably start to pick up a little bit of momentum here and will be a little bit tough to kill off. But at this point, just not right-clicking hard enough to really be the focus of any of BBC's lineup. And as you mentioned, BBC gonna find nothing with that smoke in the dire jungle.
And that's kind of weird to see from, first of all, a Viper in general, and Viper did a decent job in his lane. He had a very easy lane assignment there, so the fact that Viper is holding right now no threat is going to be pretty problematic for xGame. Yeah, he's very tanky, but there's no real reason for BBC to focus that tanky hero until Viper actually does some damage, and he's 1800 gold away from doing a little bit of damage with that Aghanim Scepter. But as it stands right now, it's going to be pretty much Io and Tiny that are going to be 100% of the focus of BBC. First of all, tower destroyed up towards the top lane, though. The tower was already very weak, and BBC are going to quickly claim that one. They're looking for a fight right now, as everyone is in position with Spectre being a million miles away, just like the plan should be. They're going to pressure high ground out of nowhere.
This is a little odd. Two big items come out for either side. Linken's comes out for Yapzor, and they will have the AC completed up for Mantis. They are going to glimpse back Bignum, so they do have a 4-on-5 situation, and he has been pinged out by this Radiant Warrior. They're going to TP towards the mid lane with Massacre, looking for Bignum, but he's rotated up to the east and is going to be covered by Stallcat as well, so he should just be fine here. And yeah, doesn't look like they're going to mount a high ground push from BBC.
There's actually no reason for them to go for that high ground push right there. Like, they're still waiting on their Lincoln Spheres. They have no Aegis advantage or anything like that, so would have been really surprised to see them fully commit there. But instead, they're just going to try to force xGame back. Maybe they get a good glimpse back and then take a 4v5 right outside the enemy base. And that is actually pretty good if they actually make that happen, but it's not going to happen. For right now, it's going to be Mantis chasing forward. Has an Avalanche to throw towards Massacre if he wants to. This is going to decide against that, as both teams know that Roshan is going to be a big objective. Roshan, though, is not going to be up for a very, very long time, so a little bit of downtime while both sides just farm up and wait for that Roshan and Aegis to respawn.
Yeah, definitely so. Taking a look at the metrics at this point, it's pretty interesting how even the game has been up till now. 2,000 experience lead going BBC's way, 2,000 net worth lead going xGame's way, and unfortunately they won't find a Roshan here at a minimum spawn. It's actually the absolute max at around 11 minutes. And they may find someone, however, in the Radiant jungle. Mid lane is going to be scouted out pretty soon with the wave here, and Bridon is actually the closest target to them. This could be a huge pickoff for xGame if they're able to find him. It is daytime vision here. They'll jump forward. Hex Doom is there. Ether Shock, Shackle, easy kill on going the way of xGame, and that's 70 seconds down with buyback available for Bridon. He can haunt in if they do find a good engagement here, but they're going to look to just push in top lane and force back xGame.
That's probably a good race for BBC, as their right-click damage is not going to contest that of xGame, especially with an overcharged Tiny. But they might as well do something, and they have a glimpse here, so whoever's going to teleport into this top lane is most likely just going to take a fast trip back over towards the top lane. Looks like Doom, or not, that was not Doom, that was just level death, being used to pop the Lincoln Sphere effect of Miracle, which was given to him by YapzOr. They're going to try to go for this tower. It's going to be a race that xGame might actually come out ahead with, though. Miracle is going to take down one tower. The Tier 3 and Raxes are in danger for the Radiant side as well. Static Storm over in the mid lane, going to catch Reeves and Mantis, but already the mid-range, mid-Raxes is down. Range Raxes is still alive for the Dire side. Haunt is going to come in. Mass Carry Bridon going to try to kill off what they can, but it's a quick relocate up towards the top lane where Miracle is all alone now. He's probably going to be brought down by this Viper Strike damage. It's going to be close, 20 HP. He's going to get away a little bit more, and he might be in the clear right now, actually. In the meantime, they kill off the IO who was yanked back, but overall, it's one full set of Raxes for a half set. And for BBC, in that situation, I honestly don't think they could have done much better.
That's really not that bad for BBC, and it's a little questionable that they use the glyph on their tier 2, but either way, they'll lose a lane of Rax against a very good pushing lineup with the Tiny IO, and they'll get almost a full lane themselves. Range Rax not going to regenerate, so a good choice to focus that melee one, and that Range Rax will be killable off even a kill or two shortly hereafter. So yeah, as you mentioned, I think it's a pretty good trade for BBC, considering what position they were in with Bridon down early on.
So xGame, they do take the entire set of Raxes, so of course they do have a little bit more momentum there, but after all said and done, I think BBC are going to be happy with what they have accomplished, as they get something where as ordinarily they should have gotten nothing. Now they have a double damage rune and a Roshan that's going to be respawning. Next game, they will have, you know, all of their tools available to them by the time they actually need it. But I think the worst thing that happened there for BBC was the fact that Bridon waited for a very long time to use that buyback, but he actually did have to use it in the end. They're going to catch Mantis, however. This is a really big kill if they can get him down. He does have some help there with Reeves. He has the BKB up as well. Doom onto Mass Carry, and now he's 100% useless. Static Storm, Kinetic Field, going to be thrown up, and that will force everyone from xGame back. Mass Carry, though, is going to die to this Doom. I think he will be denied Lincoln Sphere effect. That's not going to do anything. Right click. There it is. Timbersaw is going to take a fall. We'll be up in just 30 seconds because of those Bloodstone charges. But xGame, they have a 5v4 on their hands right now. There are travels in the Timbersaw, but Roshan is up and will be very quickly killed off if Mantis gets himself into the pit.
Yeah, no BKB available. He's going to get caught with a Shackle, and the Burrow Strike is there as well. And walking through that river, very, very terrible decision coming out from the Tiny. Vlad going to feed over his life as well. Bridon picking up the last hit on that one, and that should be a free Roshan for xGame. No buyback available on Vlad's Wisp for the relocate, so even if the Tiny buys back, he's going to have to TP to this tier 2, and it doesn't look like xGame willing to contest this at all.
Miracle had a Lincoln Sphere on him, so I didn't realize that he had a double damage rune, but the double damage rune with Aghanim Scepter is the real deal on Wind Ranger. It doesn't matter really who you are. If Craggy isn't proccing and Miracle is too far away for that, then you're just going to take a very swift fall. So it's actually going to be BBC, even without their Timbersaw, to not only take 2 kills, but also take out that Roshan, which means that Bridon is going to be that much more safe moving forward in this game. And Well, it's not like they could force buybacks just yet for BBC, though with this Aegis, maybe they want to go for a couple of these last outer tier 2 towers. And xGame, they probably can defend it, but I don't really know if they're going to be willing to, because BBC should be looking for a high ground push in some manner over the next couple of minutes. It's probably not going to be the most intensive pushes, but it's certainly going to be a possibility.
Yeah, certainly so. And Bridon gonna finish up this Manta very soon here. It's actually flying out over on the Courier. He's picked up another ultimate orb. Could be the third Linken's of the game going BBC's way. And I wouldn't hate him too much for that decision. However, I don't know if he should build it on the Spectre. They do rely on him quite a bit for the damage, despite Miracle having a lot of damage toolkit to his name. He's picked up the Demon Edge now. Probably will be a MKB at some point for his Wind Ranger.
So apparently Linken's Spheres stack. I actually didn't know that. So Mascari had 2 on him, and they're just going to put the Timbersaw in the front and hope that Doom doesn't realize that the Linken Sphere effects are there, because the play for Doom is always going to be blink in, level death, Doom, ideally onto that Timbersaw. But if 2 Linken Spheres are there, does that block both of them?
Yeah, definitely. The one thing is that it's kind of, I don't know if it's intended or a little buggy, but Massacre needs to cast his own Linken Sphere buff on himself in order for them to stack. So if he doesn't and his teammate casts, then both of them will pop from one spell cast. But if he casts his own on himself and another is stacked up, he'll be just fine to have 2 spells be blocked there. They do have a lot of ways to pop it, however, from xGame. They've got the level death, they've got the Shadow Shaman, and they've got that Viper Strike, which is on a really low cooldown from the Aghanim. So is going to be a nice item, but if they are going to look to slow siege, Bignum should be able to pick off these Linkens one by one.
Dude, that makes no sense with how those Linken Spheres work.
Yeah,
like, there's nothing logical about that at all. I'm pretty sure that's a bug, but Ice Frog is Ice Frog, and I dare not look into the mind of Ice Frog, so yeah, that's such an obscure mechanic that you rarely see, but the reason you rarely see it is because you never really see a team with 3 Linken Spheres. This might be a first for me.
Yeah, a little bit of reminiscent of that Alliance game where Loda in the pit had like 2 or 3 ultimates blocked by his entire team, who pretty much built refreshers. This is going back to TI3, post-TI3 days, so pre-TI4, but either way, yeah, this Linken Sphere mechanic a little bit weird, like some of the things in Dota for sure. And we'll have a reconnect here from Stallcat, so hopefully we can get right back into this one. xGame having a little bit of connectivity issues here, but it's been rectified pretty quickly more often than not.
Right now, BBC holding on to a pretty substantial advantage in this game. Their Spectre is getting to a very scary late game stage. I expect Heart to be coming up from Bridon shortly. There's an Aghanim Scepter being built by the Timbersaw, and Wind Ranger now going to grab her damage item. Daedalus or MKB, either one would be good. No need for that true hit right now, but it will be nice in the future to have. Either way, BBC, they're getting some pretty substantial items up. There's also going to be a Aghanim Scepter in the works for Levi. He's very far away from that because he's a poor support hero. But if he does get that down, then that could be pretty large towards the BKB heroes of Tiny and Doom, and also that Viper.
Quick question for you. Does Manta dispel Halberd?
I don't think so, because Disarm works really, really weird.
I think the only thing that dispels Disarm is spell immunity in BKB, and generally Bridon not going to build a BKB, so maybe Miracle's expecting a Halberd to come out for Bignum at some point, is that as picking up the MKB for that purpose. Butterfly can be built onto Tiny. I mean, it's not the most common item, but he does have a little bit of flexibility with that 6th slot, and he is going to build into the Daedalus beforehand, but perhaps that MKB, a little bit of foresight there from Miracle.
Yeah, and that is always nice to have. You would rather have the MKB and not really need the true hit than to not have it and really need it. And that's not as high of a damage item in general as a Daedalus, especially this late into the game, but it's also going to do its job. Just increase that green damage on your hero. Levi also holding a lot of those Aghanim's parts on the Courier is going to buy that one up, so did have a lot more gold than I really expected, I guess, keeping up with the Absol and the fact that Sand King has a Linken Sphere, Blink Dagger, and a Ghost Scepter, so maybe we're going to have another racing situation on our hands, because BBC, they still have that Aegis. They've been playing with this Aegis so far very, very passively, and maybe they're just okay with letting this game drag on. Maybe they just want to get these Aghanim Scepters up, but they should be making some sort of play with this, aside from those tier 2 towers that they've already taken.
Yeah, they were queuing up to relocate to that bot lane, but only with Yapzor there, they stopped casted, allowed Mantis to continue farming. He's got 4,500 gold on this Tiny, so he can complete up his Daedalus. Is going to save for buyback, it seems, for now, which is about 1,400 gold for him. And Miracle, with an invisibility rune, could find out Mantis, but there's nothing to shackle him to at the moment. Io not currently behind him, and they're not going to look to open on it.
Well, Mantis is actually looking pretty tasty right now. There's the haunch that they can angle. It's actually going to be Stallcat down towards bottom lane, stuck in the Static Storm to take a fall. Doom does have a buyback here, and if xGame wants to defend this, they're going to have to use it. He will buy out into this game immediately. Courier randomly here. That's going to be a free one for Miracle. 2 shots going to get that kill. Reeves going to blink forward, but he can't get the disable onto Miracle. Now shackled to a tree. Reeves going to take a fall also. He does not have a buyback now. Burrow Strike onto Mantis right now, and just BBC kiting the hell out of this Tiny, where Stallcat right in the front lines with the BKB and Doom active, but he's all alone. Literally has no one near him right now, though he's taking no damage because he has the BKB up. He has no support coming. He's going to wait until the BKB runs out to TP out, and Stallcat's going to die again. That was, I guess, just a huge amount of miscommunication there from xGame.
Yeah.
Stallcat wanted in, and no one else from xGame did. This might be their bottom lane lost.
Yeah, no buybacks available for Shadow Shaman and Doom, and you touched upon it there. xGame looked lost in that engagement. Reeves jumps in totally headlong on his own after Stallcat jumped in and died. Then it looked like Mantis didn't know which target to go on after the Timbersaw got doomed up, and he got stuck in a kinetic field and brought down, or had to pop his BKB, I should say, to stop the glimpse. And now they're going to forfeit over a full lane of racks.
Bad plays for xGame, but that's really all it takes. You make one mistake like that, and you're going to be regretting it. Levi might die on the retreat, but it's a support disruptor, and he's actually going to get a little bit of help. Shackled now onto Mantis and Reeves. Miracle with that win run, going to go to town onto this Tiny. Lots of armor is there, but with the epicenter Burrow Strike onto 3, Yapzor is going to get 3 kills for his team. That's going to be almost a clean sweep with the glimpse back. Reeves is also going to take a fall. My God, Yapzor, a god on Sand King and a god on Rubik. What can't this guy do? 30-15, and xGame with no more buybacks or no substantial buybacks available to them are going to tap out.
Yeah, I mean, Miracle and Massacre, stable play on heroes that generally really look to create space, but Levi and Yapzor in this game, absolutely incredible for the support combo that they are very comfortable with for BBC. And this new squad, always looking really good in the late game here. They're going to take game 1.
Alright guys, this is a best of 3, so BBC currently 1-0 over xGame. We'll see if xGame can bring it back in game number 2, which will be coming up very shortly, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the cast, be sure to hit that follow button. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at HeflaTV, and be sure to follow me on Mike Loris on Twitter at Mike Loris. You can follow my co-caster at MRP_Dota on Twitter as well. We'll be right back, guys, for game 2.